All right, everyone. Welcome to the Helicopter Podcast. I'm Halsey Schider, and a special thanks to Vertical Helicast for making this podcast possible. And of course, a special thanks to our listeners. I've been able to grow the show, and it's because of you guys like listening to helicopter people talk about helicopter things. Pretty novel concept. And so I'm glad that I started this, and I'm glad that you guys are listening. And one of my favorite things about doing the podcast, and I've said this before, is I love connecting with old friends, but I love making new friends and learning about people that I don't know. And that's today's episode with Ron Bergman. He's actually joining me all the way from Finland. I don't know Ron. We've shared a couple email correspondences back and forth. I know very little about him, which I think is kind of exciting. You think that there's a lot of prep. I don't like to prep. I like to kind of be surprised during the show. And so I'm excited to see what today's episode foils out to be because, Ron and I are just connecting. So Ron, welcome to the Helicopter Podcast. How are you doing, buddy?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be on the podcast.
Well, we're glad to have you on. Really appreciate it. And it's really fun to technology is amazing. Like, here it is, you're like 10 hours ahead of me or something like that.
Yeah,
it's nighttime.
Like
I wish it was nighttime. I'm kind of like over this day already, but here we are, being able to talk and record this awesome podcast. So I think it's super cool. Joining us all the way from Finland. I've never been to Finland, and actually I've never been to Europe. However, I'm getting my first opportunity for work here in a couple weeks. I'm going to be jet setting over to Germany to look at an EC-135 P2 Plus that we're helping a client purchase here in the States. And so I'm pretty excited. And then also, I think I'll be attending European Rotors
in Spain,
which is in Spain this year. Are you going to be there?
I was actually planning on that with a few friends from here, but as it seems now, we are not going to make it, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, if you do, make sure you look me up. I'm pretty excited for that. Ian, my sales manager, and myself will be there. And before we get into it too, I just want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Celicopter and Bell Helicopter. So thank you both to those sponsors for making this podcast possible. So Ron, I find it interesting because my experience of European helicopter pilots is a lot of them seem to train in the United States. When I went to Hillsborough Aviation back in the day and was doing my flight training, I always kind of joked that being an American at an American flight school, learning how to fly helicopters, I was the minority. Most of my fellow students, especially at that big school, were all European. Tons of Norwegians, a couple guys and gals from Finland, a lot of Germans, Austrians, French. My first student, Jean Stéphane, shout out to him, was from France. So it's interesting to hear that you did not do the training route in the USA. So if you wouldn't mind, just walk us through a little bit of your training, why you chose to train in Europe opposed to the United States, and kind of go from there.
I was looking for flight schools. First of all, in Finland, obviously, because I'm from Finland and I live here. But then the range got a little bit wider to Sweden and also Norway. And then I kind of felt like the US thing was there, the opportunity to go there and then take take the license abroad over there was an opportunity. But then for me, as a Finnish Swedish guy, so my dad speaks Swedish with me, and so Sweden and Norway just felt like uh, not so far to me, and obviously as a young guy, it felt a little bit far to leave to the US. And then I just went to Sweden to a couple of schools. Didn't feel so good. Then I went to Norway to European Helicopter Center, and there I kind of decided I want to do my training here. And that's when I signed the papers, and then half a year later I started there.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's cool. I mean, that's important to say too. One of the things in order to learn anything is you have to be comfortable.
Mm,
And for me personally, when I left high school, growing up in Oregon, I went to Embry-Riddle for college for 1 year. I'm a proud
mm,
1 year collegiate, and that was all the way in Florida. So Oregon to Florida is like the complete opposite sides of the
yeah,
world, really, for me. And so that was really difficult. And it's actually one of
yeah,
the reasons I didn't continue on, just because I was so far out of my comfort zone that it made learning very challenging. So I think it's
yeah,
important that you follow your gut, like you were saying. Hey, this just felt closer. Certainly, like being at home, it hopefully allows you. I found it interesting, and I don't know if you can speak to this because you don't have the kind of the dual experience, but what I was told from a lot of my European friends when I was doing flight training is that it was considerably less expensive to learn how to fly helicopters in the United States. And then the
mm,
crazy thing on top of that is I've had friends that will do all their training. They'll somehow get some citizenship or a green card or some authorization to work in the United States. So they'll work as a pilot for a little bit here in the States. And then they end up going back to Europe and they have to pay thousands of more dollars to then do
yeah,
this conversion.
yeah.
So
That's the
it's
thing.
like, and is it still less expensive to do it that route? Do you know anything about like, is training in Europe really that much more expensive?
I mean, I have to say I don't know the prices today in the US, but it depends what you want to do actually. Because if you do this route that you just said, that you from here you leave to the US, do your training there, stay there, work there a while, get some hours, and then come back, do your conversion, and find a job here, that might be a good option. But for me, when I had the plan to work for this company and build something my own as soon as I get done, uh, I really didn't feel like I had time to stay in the US and build up the hours and kind of uh, get the money back that way. So me, compared Norway compared to Finland is cheaper. Finland is like the most expensive country in Europe, maybe, to take your license, because you have to pay the tax that you don't have to do in Sweden and Norway. So I don't know. I think there might be cheaper options as well, but I think uh, Norway was worth it,
Awesome. Well, it's,
and also comfortable, comfortable.
yep, and that is important. So obviously,
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with getting your certificates and ratings through the FAA and kind of
Mm,
what that process looks like. For us, obviously, we start with our private. We do a check ride, which includes a practical test and a written test. During the practical, there's like a oral exam where you're
mm,
getting, kind of question based and answered, and then you're actually getting in the helicopter with what we call a designated pilot examiner to go and take the actual check ride, move on to your instrument, go through commercial, certified flight instructor. What does the process look like in Europe? Is it fairly similar? Do you know, or if you wouldn't
there
mind just
there
walking us through?
there is some options. So you can do how I did. I started the what we call it the integrated commercial pilot license course. That means that from zero to hero, basically. So you go from no experience. You start your flight school. There's 13 of these EASA exams, different subjects, and then after that, 135 flight hours, and you can do your CPL check ride. And then you have like VFR CPL, and that's what I have now. And now, if I want to upgrade, I just take the IR. If I want to, I can do my CFI now if I want to, and go on from there. The other maybe a little bit slower alternative is the modular course, and that's where you take your private first, and then you have to build up the hours towards 150 or something to be able to start the commercial course, and then you will end up with 185 hours, I think.
So that's
Before you.
interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a cool concept where you essentially kind of hurdle the private and go straight into commercial.
Mm,
And did you say it was 12 or 13 EASA
third,
exams that you're doing?
uh, CPL has 13, I think, today, and the ATPL IR has 14.
Wow,
If it hasn't changed since
that's I thought we had it bad with one written test per
so
certificate, but
so we have
uh,
all the subjects are its own exam, like what 13 subjects is there? Two and a
like
half,
I'm
3 years from
yeah.
school, but it's like uh, air law, principles of flight, human performance, all those, planning, metrology, all those
Yeah, that's crazy. I
13,
mean,
13 together. Those.
that definitely probably helps actually create kind of more of a more well-rounded foundation. The one thing that I've always said about being a pilot, only relatable here in the United States for me personally, is that pilots, at least here in the States, know we have a wide range of knowledge, but within that knowledge base, we're not really that expert into
Mm,
that certain sector. Like meteorology is a good one. You can have a doctorate in meteorology, right? You can go to school for 8 years to
yeah,
study meteorology. For pilot purposes, at least here in the United States, for us we learn about basic pressure and pressure systems and fronts and what to expect with different fronts, but it's a very remedial level.
yeah,
Same with, aerodynamics. I'm sure, right? You can go to school for 8 years to be a physicist, right?
yeah,
And we have one chapter in our book that talks about aerodynamics and Bernoulli and
yeah,
Newton and all that stuff. So it's always interesting because people, I think there's a perception, and I'll take it. This, oh, you're a pilot, you must be really good at physics or math or stuff. I'm like, oh, definitely me, no, not personally. Now, and I had friends, actually, a lot of the European guys that I trained with, they were older guys. They had done a whole career. I had guys that were physicists. I had a guy that was testing ammunition and bombs in France. I mean, the guys that came in that were pretty smart, and you could tell when they were learning some of this stuff that they had kind of a background knowledge.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the things too, I've talked about this with our Canadian guests, is with here in the States, it's very common for us to get our commercial, get our flight instructor, and then teach as our first job. And it sounds like that's maybe not the same standard that you guys are doing. Is it typical just to get your commercial and then you get out in the working world? Or
Uh,
is there a flight instructor route for low time flight instructors?
in Finland, the industry is so super small. So we are our own type of career path here, but in Norway, it's also it's an option. I know a lot of my friends in Norway are they either start as loadmasters in some onshore business, like just fueling the helicopters and doing what loadmasters do, And then the other choice is to build up your hours to, I believe you can start your CFI at 250 hours or something like that. So they have to build up their hours to that after the course, and then they can take the FI and start teaching. That's like two main probably. But in Finland there is no instructors that are straight out of flight school. Absolutely not. Here the instructors are like have been working for 60 years in the industry
Yeah,
already, and now I mean one of our pilots is getting his FI now, and he took his license 2 years ago, so he's going to be the youngest and least experienced instructor in the country for
that's
sure.
crazy. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild. I mean, it's so different, and I think from an outside perspective, it seems like we're probably doing it wrong here in the United States, but it works, right?
Yeah.
Very in the training environment, there's a relatively low accident rate.
Mm,
And so it's interesting because I look back, as a 200-hour spring chicken right out of flight school, going and teaching. It was like a terrifying experience.
yeah.
And over time, you kind of learn pretty quick. Okay, by the time I had 300-400 hours, I was feeling more confident and comfortable. And the flight schools do a good job, or most of them do, where you start with a private student. You're not teaching auto rotations or anything like that off the bat. You're doing normal approaches, normal takeoffs. But
Yeah.
it is kind of interesting. It makes sense to me to get a commercial, go become a super well-rounded pilot, and then get paid a lot of money to come be a flight instructor when you're old and retired.
Yeah.
And some of the best instruction that I ever got, I got really fortunate. I was the assistant chief at the flight school I was at, and we had a new chief come in, a German guy. And his name is Marcus, and he he had been in the industry for years. He had flown utility, air medical. He just did a whole bunch of stuff. And being the assistant chief, I got to do a ton of flying with him, and I learned so much because he was really able to go in there and teach me. I always talk, I've probably talked about this on the podcast before, but you can teach a lot of turbine helicopter flying technique in a piston helicopter,
Mm,
and I remember a lot of his lessons were always around like, okay, well, when you're flying that Bell 206 and you're full passengers and you're at a higher altitude, this is what it's going to feel like. And so if you can master this in the R-22, it's not going to be some crazy experience when you get into the turbine, because at least for me, that may be a little bit of a misconception that a turbine meant that I would have ample power,
unlimited
right?
power.
And we
Yeah.
we know that's not the case. So it was
No.
awesome to be able to fly with someone that's super well rounded like that. So you did your flight training, that finished up, and now I understand that you actually own your own helicopter operation. But prior to that ownership, what was your first step into the industry and the working side of it? And then what led you to have this crazy idea of buying a helicopter company and now operating it?
Uh, we can go a little bit back in time. When I was 10 years old, I got this uh, fever that I wanted to start becoming a helicopter pilot. At 10 years old, I was in the back seat of a 206 Long Ranger for the first time, and then I decided that this is very cool. And ever since, always when I saw a helicopter in the sky, I was like, that has to be me one day. And so this guy who flew me then was from the same town where I'm grown up in, and he had his company here, and I remember one day I was working as a car mechanic uh, after the military, uh, and I have to say it wasn't the best job I've had. So one day that sucked hard. I called my dad. Uh, that because I knew he had a contact with this helicopter guy, and I called my dad and asked for his number, and then he was like, okay, what do you need that for? Like, you're like 22. I don't think you're gonna gonna order a helicopter ride. But I was
Yeah.
like, no, no, I just wanna chat with him and know what the industry is like. And I called him, uh, and then he invited me over, like the next day or something. And I went there. I was there for like 3 hours that day, and he just talked me through it. Like first you need to get your license, and then you do this, and then you do that, and that's where my that's where I made the decision. Like, okay, this is like might be doable, and just started looking for flight school back then, and then I started flight school. Everything went well. Then it came to 2020, March, I think 12th, Corona.
Oh.
And I was in the middle of flight school. Our exams had just started. We were done with class theory, and the exams had started, and the school just closed. They just announced that the exams are canceled next week, and we don't know what we're gonna do. Like whole Norway closed down.
Oh.
And I remember I had one Finnish friend at the school back then, and I had my car outside. We were in Norway in the evening, uh, something around it's like 8 o'clock in the evening, and then we heard that the exams are canceled. And then I just went to my friend's room and said, "Okay, now we do this. Pack your things. We're gonna go back to Finland now because they're gonna shut down the school, and no one knew if it's gonna open next week, in a month, in 6 months. No one knew. So we came to Finland, and then I had nothing to do basically. No one knew what happened, or what's gonna happen in the next few months. So then I got some time to get to know this helicopter company a little bit more, and then obviously I had the thought in my mind that I'm gonna work for them when I get done. And they had some jobs that I could join. I was uh, driving a fuel car or doing something during that break, which then was good for me because I got to know them and they got to know me, and it was like 3 or 4 months before the school started again. So it felt kind of like I had started working for them already and doing uh, social media posts, updating their website a little bit, and all that. And then I had to go back to flight school. I kind of kind of forgot that I had to take my license first. And
Gotta get
then
done.
yeah, and then I went back to school, and then due to these theory exams that I failed a lot of times, my getting done got delayed because every time when you failed an exam, you had to wait like 1.5 months to get to try it again.
Ugh.
And we have you have 4 attempts per exam. So I failed many exams, but I eventually I got them done. But it was already 21. It was April. I did my last exam, and then I had all my flight hours was done. So I did my last exam, and then just the flight or the check ride. Then I got done, and it, it had passed already like 9 months since I was working for this company the last time. But when I got back, they kind of were like, "What took you so long? Like now you have the license, just start flying ferry flights and all that." And then we flew. I got my initial turbine. I got the 206 rating, like right out of like flight school, because it was 5 hours and I needed to build up to 200 hours before I was allowed to fly commercially for them. So I just built up the hours during that summer. Got my 206 rating, got my 66 rating, and flew in the 44 all kind of ferry flights, and then I took my friends on and so on. Then I started working for them. It went well, and then it started happening things in my boss's life, personal life. Like the company was okay, but it felt like his motivation to work started going down a little bit, and my motivation to work was going up. I just wanted to do more and fly more and have more pilots and just grow it. But he was like stepping on the brake, like now we shouldn't do this, and there's no resources to do that and that and that and then it was this spring, like February or March, and then we had the discussion with him that led to the thing that I bought this company. But I kind of had to make the decision that, do I buy his company or do I quit working for him and start looking for another job, because there wasn't anything in between anymore. That's what the situation was. And then as the same guy who didn't want to go to the US, who's comfortable home doing his own things, I decided that it would be a lot smarter to just buy the company and do my own thing, because that's what I had been dreaming of. My plan originally was, when I got my license, that I want to have my own company when I turn 30. And then I turned 25 in June, and I think 19th of June or something, I bought the company.
Nice. That's crazy. When's your birthday in June?
1st of June.
Hey, that's my birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
What a
I'm
coincidence.
much younger than you though. I'm only 15, so
Yeah. But you're
yeah.
you're doing well for a 15-year-old.
Yeah. No, I'm an 88 guy, so I got a little time on you by
Mm,
about, I'm guessing, 10 years it sounds like.
yeah.
But that's cool. June 1st, it's a great day.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, please take special note June 1st so you can send me lots of presents and gifts and things like that. Um, I mean, that's incredible. It's always hard, and I own a business as well. And I've actually owned an operation in the past as well, just a small R44 deal. So I've seen kind of both sides, and I've been on both sides where I've kind of been this gung ho young pilot that wants to push the business
Mm,
forward. And there's kind of more of a conservative boss that's like, I don't know. I don't know, And I've also been on the same end where, even with my current business at Helicopter, where I have a lot of really motivated sales reps that will, hey, we should do this and we should do that. And, you have to find that fine line sometimes of that balance, right?
yeah.
Of what's right for you in your business or what you think is right. So what, I want to learn more about your business and what you
Mm,
guys do, but I am kind of curious on something that you said where you were mentioning that you got your rating for the 206 and rating for the R66. So in Europe, you have to get kind of endorsed for new airframes.
yeah. Uh, all helicopter types here, you need its own rating. So if you have Robinson R44 on your license, and then you want to fly the 22, you have to fly 5 hours in the 22 and check ride to get and some theory, and then when you get your initial turbine rating, you have to go through this turbine course first, and then you can get your 5 hours on the turbine machine and your skill test. But in the 66, it was a little bit easier, because when you have turbine rating and you have R44 or Robinson experience, you get to fly only 3 hours and the skill test.
Hey, podcast listeners. My name is Halsey Schider, and I'm the principal broker and owner of Celicopter. Celicopter is a new age, data-driven, helicopter-specific sales brokerage, bringing helicopter listings to new heights. At Celicopter, we utilize digital positioning, paid advertising, and our large network of industry professionals to move your helicopter quickly and efficiently. Unsure the value of your helicopter? Lucky for you, Celicopter offers a complimentary market evaluation. All you have to do is contact the team today. Are you ready to take your helicopter listing from Mayday to payday? Easy. Fill out the contact information below, and a Celicopter pilot agent will reach out shortly. Celicopter. List it, sell it, done. That's interesting. Yeah, here in the States, similar to Canada, they get endorsed on different aircraft or rated. In fact, it's kind of cool. I didn't know this until last year. I was visiting my friend Marcus and Annie, actually, who you've been talking to and getting the podcast set up. And their license, our license in the States is looks like a credit card. It's just a little plastic card with the Wright brothers on it. And their Canadian license was like a passport book almost. And within that passport book, it had, their different ratings for the different aircraft that they're able to fly. For us, we don't need there it is. Yeah. Let's see it. Flip us through. This is interesting.
So it's a paper like this.
Oh man, that's dangerous to me. A paper and Halsey don't mix. I would lose that or get it ripped or get it crumbled pretty fast.
I mean, I have to say, you should have this when you fly at all times with you. But I have it in electronic mode, so I have a picture of it, and it's fine. But now I had I had to renew my 206 rating now just last week, and then you have to have the examiner sign it off. So you have to find your original one to get the signature. So we just kind of have on the front page, you have like the basic info with your signature and whatnot, birth dates and basic info. And then on the back side, you have the ratings. I don't know how sharp the picture is, but it says
I can see
206, and then it says R44 and R66. And then when you renew your ratings, they just write it here in handwriting, and the dates, and then the examiner's number, and then the signature of him.
Are you having to do a renewal once a year, once every 2 years?
Once a year on the type.
Man, you guys definitely are held to a little bit of I would probably call it a higher standard of proficiency. It's a lot different. Our certificate will essentially cover us to anything up to 12,500 pounds. Anything over 12,500 pounds requires then a type rating.
Yeah.
And
so basically, you can. Do you still need a familiarization or something, or can you just jump in a new type and go?
Yeah, it's a good question. So don't kill me on social media here if I say this wrong. Correct me though if I'm wrong. But it's been a bit since I've been in the FAR Aim. But I believe all that's required in order to carry passengers is just 5 hours. We don't need a sign off. I could, like when I went in the, I don't know, the R6, call it the 206, it's probably a better example. I was flying that on a 135, so I did have to do a check ride to be a 135 pilot for the 206. But other than that, I would have just had to get 5 hours of time in the aircraft in order to then carry people. And so, no, I don't need to go and, you don't need to meet with an examiner.
Yeah.
You don't need to do a check ride. That only comes into play when an aircraft's over 12,500 pounds. Now and certainly for the annual or biannual flight review, every 2 years you have to do a flight review. Consists of about an hour of ground and, half hour to an hour of flight, I think. And that's per part 61. And essentially if I'm flying, say, a 206, a 407, a 130, and an A star, I can
Mm,
do a flight review in any of those aircraft and I'm good. Robinson gets a
okay.
little bit different because we have what's called SFAR 73, which provides extra regulations for operating Robinson helicopters. And for Robinson, you have to do specific review in either an R44 or an R22. So if I do
Mm-hmm.
a flight review in an R44, it will cover me for 206, A star, 407, whatever else I'm flying, but it wouldn't cover me for the R22. I would have to
Yeah,
do a separate review for the R22, and that's just because of the SFAR 73, which just adds kind of a extra
I see.
requirements. So it's just interesting, the
Yeah,
difference
there
in.
is differences. I know that you, for example, my 206 and my 66 ratings can be done in one check ride on either. But then you have, if I do my ratings in the 206 this year, I have to do it in the 66 next year. So if I can't do it in the same machine every year if I want to renew several ratings.
Interesting. Well, no, that's all fascinating. That's one of my favorite things is to learn about how different countries are doing it. And,
Yeah.
as Americans, we're very proud of America. And so we always think like, hey, our way is best. And I've been selling aircraft for a long time now. And a lot of my US based buyers always have like this hesitancy of buying an aircraft from overseas, buying an aircraft from Canada or Central America or Europe.
Mm,
And, the funny thing is there's less pilot requirements as we're finding out in this podcast compared to say us in Europe, but there's
yeah.
also a kind of a lower level of maintenance compliance that the FAA holds compared to other countries.
Mm,
And so I really like getting aircraft from other countries, especially a European one with the aircraft has a maintained with a camo.
hmm.
It's at this higher level that we would never see for like a Part 91 helicopter here in the States. And so I like I like the higher standards,
Yeah,
especially if
I
we're
mean,
buying a helicopter.
and also the operating, I think they are not for nothing, or they when you get used to it, you kind of see that it's for safety, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and different operators have you can be within the rules of the FAA and do the bare minimum. And
Hmm.
some operators do that. Whereas some operators know where the bare minimum is, but then they go over and beyond
Hmm.
to make sure that they're extra safe and trying to hopefully push the industry forward in this kind of the safety mindset. So with your operation, what do you guys operate? I'm gonna take a wild guess that you guys operate the 44, the 206, and the R66. Is that correct?
There are 44 at the moment and the 206. We actually sold the 66 overseas to uh, uh, South America somewhere.
Okay.
It went it went far.
It's did that 66 have a wrap on it?
uh, no, it's
Okay.
like a basic black 66 with the
Okay.
gold line.
Yeah, I was just thinking we were looking at a 66 and I think it was in maybe it was in Sweden. It was part of a flight club, which I think is probably different than what you're with your operation. But anyway, so you guys sold the 66. You're operating 44 206. What is the primary mission that you guys are doing over there?
Now at the moment, I have to say the primary mission is just going around offering sightseeing flights, and then we have charter or taxi flying the rest, and then we do power line inspections, uh, like wildlife. I have flown these flights where we go try to find moose or wolves,
Nice.
or what else? This like all kinds of things that are doing with power lines basically, except the sewing that we don't do. But mostly sightseeing. That's what we have been doing now since the company went. It was a little bit quiet, and they just did the bare minimum what they had to do to just live basically. They did some sightseeing days here and there, and then they had a few power line jobs here and there. But now uh, it has been kind of getting more quiet and quiet, and then you just kind of lose the business also. If you just don't answer the phone, you kind of lose the business. And now since I joined the company and started working for them, there was more and more sightseeing days because that's pretty easy to just go there and do it. And then from there we have gotten some bigger jobs as well on the power line side, and then now this year basically we just focused on the sightseeing. You
Excellent.
have them.
Yeah, so doing a whole bunch of different stuff.
Mm,
Has it been challenging running a helicopter business? Running a helicopter operation is, in my opinion, not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of challenges. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced that you didn't really expect? What do you like about operating a helicopter business, and what are areas that are harder for operating a helicopter business?
mm, I like how, uh, especially here, when the industry is so small, I can basically just come up with whatever idea I have, and just try it out. Try to sell it. If it works, we do it more. If it doesn't work, we just stop doing it.
That's awesome.
And that's what I like. I mean, I feel like even though I'm very low experienced and new here, people are willing to help, and the society is pretty small. Everyone knows each other, and we kind of help each other also. So I kind of like to be able to do what I want, basically.
Yeah, that's the beautiful
That's
thing
what
about
I
being your own boss,
yeah
right?
yeah that's what I like. But also that comes with the downside. Also, I am the one responsible of my company that it's running, and my own income and my own jobs. Like if I was a little bit sick here in a month ago, and then before that I was on a trip for a week, and then I was here and there for another week, and then suddenly I realized I haven't been working for almost a month,
Oh
uh,
God.
and then I was like, oh, now the one guy that works for this company hasn't been working for a month, so it really, you can see it when when you check your bank account that there hasn't been any activity the last month, just
Yeah,
expenses.
it's always interesting. Owning my own business, I feel that way often, right? Where it's like, when you work for someone, payday is a great day. But when you
Hmm.
work for yourself, it's like payday is just another expense. Or,
Yeah,
my friends talk about, oh, I have X amount of paid time off and I'm going to go on this vacation. And when I go on vacation, which is unfortunately seldom because of running my own business,
hmm,
I'm a salary guy, so I'm still, I guess, getting paid, but it's getting pulled, so it's definitely a little bit of a different mindset,
yeah,
and presents a lot of stress for sure. I was also stalking your Instagram page, and that's how I think we ended up talking
yeah,
with you is through Instagram. It seems like you've developed a nice little thing on Instagram, uh, posting videos and other things like that, and gaining a lot of viewership. How did that all come about? And has it been surprising to kind of see that happen?
yeah. And all that started from, uh, I think the girlfriend at that time, or my mom maybe, just told me that kind of post your helicopter stuff somewhere else than your personal Instagram profile. because everyone doesn't want to see it. And that was like, why wouldn't everyone want to see it? Like it's the coolest thing ever.
It's helicopters. Come on.
Yeah, I was like, of course they want to see it. But then I realized I kind of got unfollowed on my personal Instagram as well when I started posting helicopter stuff there. And I was like, okay, maybe if I just do another account and then I can just fill it up with helicopter things, because I like to always, when I go somewhere, I take a picture. And now I have like 25,000 pictures of helicopters on my phone. So I have to put them somewhere. And that's when I decided to start this Roncopters Instagram account. And then I just started posting stuff there, and it started growing fast. I started getting followers pretty fast. Uh, and now when I realized the power of reels, that's when I got like, I think I had like 1,000 or 1,500 followers before I posted my first reel, and now it has gone up to I think 6,000 or 7,500 followers or something.
That's
So
awesome.
it went up pretty fast.
Yeah, Instagram, social media is difficult. You know, everything. Sometimes reels are better, or sometimes the
Mm,
stories. We hire I have a third party that helps me because I'm just it seems like it's ever changing. So I kind of leave it to the
yeah,
experts. But yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about being in the helicopter business on the operation side is this is social media allows for a whole new way for you to build your brand on essentially a free platform, right? I
yeah,
mean, you can do paid things on Instagram and Facebook, but so much of my friends that are Insta famous through helicopters, they haven't spent any money on that, right?
yeah,
It's just been their time of making the videos and posting them. And I think it's a really cool way because people love helicopter content.
yeah,
And I'm sure it's probably good for your business because people see what you're doing, even non-helicopter people, and they're like, "Oh man, that looks I want to go land there. I want to go fly and
yeah,
do this."
yeah, for sure.
Have you seen an increase in your business since you
Uh, well, I don't have any data from the time before, but for sure I know, and I have gotten friends or clients that has became my friends like through social media already now. And also I'm working as like a sales consultant for European Helicopter Center. So I in Finland. So I answer to uh, Finnish emails on for European Helicopter Center. So I try to help Finnish guys go there. And that side, I know that I have through me like 4 or 5 or 6 students have started because they have found me on social media, and then I have chat with them a little bit, and then maybe taken them to Norway, and then they have decided to start flight school. So for sure, my social media, even though it's a very not professional type of doing, but I just randomly post stuff, and then people just DM me basically.
That's the best. No, I love that.
Yeah,
That's so cool. And the content's really fun. I went to your website first and then I was like, I can't read this website. I'm guessing it's in Finnish.
yeah.
So
That's the Finnish. I think it's the Finnish article on European Helicopter Center's page.
yeah. So then I ended up going to your Insta and yeah, I mean the content's really cool. The videos are fun. It's you know, obviously I'm a helicopter guy, so I love helicopter stuff, but it's fun to consume that type of content. I wish, you know, at some point I hope to have my own helicopter and I can create cool
Just through
helicopter
content.
content.
Yeah, I wish
Uh,
I had
but
that as well.
I have to sell some more helicopters, I guess, before I can do that. In my notes here, it looks like at some point in your flying career so far that you had to make a forced landing. Before we wrap it up for today, what was that situation and scenario all about?
So we had this 206. It's a long ranger, so it's with the C20B Rolls-Royce engine, and we had some issues in during the summer with the helicopter that during warm days the temperature is going up a lot. So you can basically you couldn't pull more than 85-90% of torque before the turbine temperature went over the limit. So we had to get it checked, and they wanted us to do a power check before we sent the engine to be checked. So we went on this power check. We went up to 2,000 feet, and then you're supposed to just basically pull max continuous power and then scan the instruments and see what all the instruments say. And we were up at 2,000 feet. I pulled max power, and this, I have to say, this helicopter for me before this was like a bomb safe helicopter. Like it will never break. But during this power check, I was up at I think 88% torque, and the speed was coming along. I think we had like 110 knots at least airspeed, and then just boom, and it felt like the speed came down really quickly, and then I have like almost 700 hours now. But I remember from all those flight lessons and all those chit chats with the instructors and examiners and all those, if something goes wrong, first thing you do, just down with the collective, and then you start looking around. And that's what I did. I think I had to think half a second what to do, but I just kind of smashed the collective down. Then I already looked at the RPMs and realized they are rising a little bit too high. So I just started lifting collective already, and the engine relight caution light was on, but the engine was still running. So I was like, I was in the auto rotation already then, but the relight caution light was on, and I was like, this is weird. And the sound, also the feeling wasn't that good. So I decided to just continue with the auto rotation, and I had a very good spot next to a golf course on a field where I decided to just do the auto rotation on the field. And my boss, the owner of the helicopter, was with me. Since we were doing this power check, it's good to have two guys. And then he said that since we have power, we can just put it in a hover from the flare, and then just put it down from the hover with power. And I said, yeah, we can try that. So we landed safe. The machine was okay. It was still running, but the sound was a little bit weird, maybe. And then 2 minutes cool down, and then I shut it down. Maintenance came there, take a look at it, and it's hard to say. We didn't like. We had some thoughts that what it could be. We thought that it would have been a little bit break in the fuel, like when we pulled max power, that it didn't get enough fuel. But the fuel nozzle was good. Like we didn't find anything obvious there on the field. So then we decided to think. I think that the clock was like 11 in the evening or something. Then we decided to just check it another day. And then fast forward from that, we took the engine down, since the rebuild was already, or the engine check was already ordered because of the heat issue. So we just took the engine down, sent it over to Sweden where it was done. And then we heard that when he took the case for the compressor, the bits just fell down on the
Wow.
ground. And then we were like, oh shit. that engine wasn't healthy.
Yeah,
And
no, it
that,
sounds like a recipe for disaster. Sounds like it
yeah,
was
it
on
was.
his last legs.
I have to say it was when you think back on it, we were very 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 lucky to have that engine actually running, and no big problems in the rotation or nothing,
Yeah, it's
and
cool. I
landed
mean,
safely.
you had power, or you kind of knew you had power, but sometimes it's okay to maintain that auto state, right?
Yeah,
Just
I was.
get it on the ground.
Yeah,
It's
I
better to get it safely on the ground and then kind of figure out what the heck was wrong.
yeah,
Because it could have been a benign issue, maybe even like a compressor stall gave a
yeah.
little surge or something like that. But it's always wise to enter the auto. What's the helicopter doing? Find a
Hmm.
good spot. Obviously, you guys made a good decision by just doing kind of a power recovery auto and then just getting it
Yeah.
on the ground. So that's a good experience to have. I'm sure. Definitely,
I
definitely, probably got your heartbeat going a little bit.
it definitely did, and maybe my since I am in my 600 700 hours, I think I'm getting dangerous, or I was getting dangerous on my flying, because I was flying in a way that I didn't, or and now I realize it when that happened, because I was flying in a way that I wasn't thinking about that something could go wrong that much. I always have thought that I'm being smart when I'm flying. I'm not doing anything stupid in a way, but it, even more now when that happened, I realized that I have to be more careful when I'm doing different things, and for sure now when I'm flying, I haven't been flying so much, maybe 10, 15 hours since that happened, and still I'm like, even if there is a slight change in the engine noise or something, I'm like, okay, I'm in the other rotation, and then it's like I'm all the time on the collective, and I think something is wrong, but I guess now the engine is done, and it flies really well. The engine power thing, or the heat problem, just went away with the new compressor, so definitely
Perfect.
the problem was there. It's flying really well, and it's better than it was before. The 44 that we have are maintained very well, and they they don't have knock 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 any problems whatsoever, like so far. Even the authorities, when they have had this audit for us, uh, they asked that why haven't we written anything in the logbook, like defects, uh, like when there is something wrong with your helicopter, but
Sure.
you're allowed to fly, you just write it in the book and check the mail. But they were like, why haven't you written anything in your books? And they were like, we don't have any problems with the helicopters. Like they work. We don't have to write anything.
That's
And
good.
if there is anything, like the owners of the helicopters that we have, they are strict that they want to have them fixed right away. So in a way, we are in a good situation, but that for sure, that event remembered me to, or reminded me to start thinking about the flying a little bit otherwise now,
Yeah, no,
for
it's
sure.
important. I mean, there's always kind of that, when you're really new, you're pretty hypersensitive and you're probably extra safe just because you have this kind of anxiety almost of the situation. And then yeah, you get some time, that 5 to 700 hour range is always kind of a dangerous place for a
Hmm.
pilot because you've had 5, 700 hours of uneventful flying. You're getting better at flying. It's easy to kind of get this complex that you're better than you are,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
or the machines are better than they are. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a machine, and it's you never want to get too comfortable. One of the
No,
things,
absolutely not.
when I flew tours in the Grand Canyon, very mundane job, fly the same route 2 or 3 times a day, 5 days a week, and it's pretty easy to just kind of get in this doldrum flying
Hmm.
circles. And I always was trying to remind myself, like, okay, where am I going to land right now if something when poo poo hits the fan. Where am I going? What am I doing? And it's exhausting because you just kind of want to sit there and fly sometimes and not have to think so much about, okay, what if, what if? But that's kind of what you're paid for, right? It's like that
Yeah,
what
exactly.
if.
Yeah.
It's like when that what if happens. So, well, Ron, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. As we close out on time here, I just want to thank you. If people want to check out your fun content on Instagram, what's your handle?
Ron copters.
Ron Copters. I like it.
Ron
We'll put
copters.
that. We'll make sure that we put that in the description. You can
Yeah,
check
thanks.
out Ron and see all the cool and fun stuff that he's doing over in Finland. And again, Ron, thank you just so much for taking the hour of time to chat with me. It's fascinating to learn about your different training and how it works in Europe, kind of compared to what I'm used to. And congratulations on having your own operation. And I wish you a ton of luck in that and be safe. And good on you for having your first kind of emergency experience and handling it
Yeah.
appropriately. So keep making those good decisions. To our listeners, thank you for listening to the Helicopter Podcast. Again, special thanks to Vertical Helicast for making it all possible, and our sponsors there at Bell and Celicopter. If you like the Helicopter Podcast, make sure that you're subscribing to it and you are getting set up for notifications. So every Tuesday when we launch a new episode, you're notified. Share it with your friends, leave a review, keep consuming the content. We appreciate it. Ron, again, thank you so much for joining the Helicopter Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
See ya.